Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, wherever you're tuning in from. I hope you're having a beautiful day and welcome to the Polyhedra show. So, today we have a super exciting ecosystem spotlight. The theme of today's show is Trustless Intelligence. I am joined by two of my favorite people, and honestly, one of my favorite founders. Of course, Eric Vreeland, our Sergeant at Arms and our Chief Strategy Officer. How you going today, Eric?
I'm doing great. It's been a little while. I think we've missed a couple of these. So excited to get back on video. Excited to see your lovely face. And excited for the conversation
Likewise.
today.
Likewise, man. And we are joined by Aten, the founder and CEO of ZkAGI. How you doing today, Aten?
Hey, GM, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me here.
Great to have you here, man. It's been a little while. We've been planning this for a little while. We have met a few times around the place, Ashen, and always great chats. So I'm excited for this one. We have had hundreds of questions from you guys, our community, but I will be actively monitoring Discord. So if during the show you have some pressing questions, please hit me up. You can ask in the general chat, or you can hit me up directly. But if you are into zero knowledge, if you're into agentic systems, compute marketplaces, or you just want to understand where decentralized AI is really headed, this, I think, is the episode for you. So, having said that, I'll hand it off to you guys. Welcome to the show, Aten and ZkAGI. Let's get into it.
Awesome. Atten, really excited to have you on the show. I don't know if you've had the pleasure of watching any of our previous Polyhedra shows, but we, obviously frequently talk about the combination of ZK and AI on here. And you guys are a perfect fit, for us and our community. Would love to, I guess, before we get started, maybe you can give us a brief introduction on yourself and the backstory for how you came to found ZkAGI.
Sure thing. So I'm Ethan, and basically I've been building AI from like 2016. My first AI agent was in 2016 at university. I built a robot that could navigate autonomous spaces. Uh, and over time, I just kept building more and more like end cases, like enterprise applications, end user products, and constantly flirted with open source AI technologies. And every time I was trying to just solve my own problems with the products I was building until it got to a time when I wanted to solve the infrastructure problem itself, right? I really wasn't able to meddle with OpenAI, like at a very foundational level. And as an engineer, that started breaking me. And of course, I also started reading more and more, and I found that there's a big privacy issue, and like healthcare institutions and a lot of financial technology companies and crypto included, they would benefit from AI infrastructure that would preserve privacy and also be verifiable at the same time. So I began building ZkAGI with my team. They seemed very scared on day one that I wanted to actually build something so big. But then over the last year, we've shipped products and we've gotten to a good place now. And we're constantly kind of improving our infrastructure to stress on those two key main benefits that we're able to unlock with our infrastructure, which is verifiability and privacy. So yeah, I've been a bootstrapper for most of my life. Only the last year I've raised like a small amount, very responsibly from community and some VCs. And yeah, like we're looking forward to growing the adoption of the actual technology and shipping more and more products.
Amazing. And so I know that a question that I get a lot is, when is it appropriate to use TEE, or when is TEE preferred? When is zero knowledge preferred? You guys utilize both of those technologies. Can you give our audience a little bit of an understanding of the differences between TEE and ZK and kind of how you apply them to what you guys are building?
Yeah, absolutely. So TEE stands for Trusted Execution Environment. So basically, whatever is being executed within a trusted execution environment cannot be peeped at by anybody, including the host of that particular TEE machine. So unauthorized access is impossible on a TEE. Um, and this is more of an engineering choice. It's not a cryptographic choice like how you would get on ZK proofs. So ZK proofs are a cryptographic technique, whereas TEEs are, for the most part, hardware dependent, um, choice, right? Zero knowledge proofs essentially like consider the case I actually had a beard and a mustache. You would know that I'm above the age of 18. Like even if you looked at my stubble, you'd know that I'm above the age of 18. So you could consider that to be like a zero knowledge proof. You don't have to see my ID, but you know that this man is above the age of 18, right? So zero knowledge proofs work in that fashion. However, they're very compute heavy, especially when it involves like large AI loads. So you have to make practical considerations, especially if you want like users to adopt your product, and while we are fixing, the not just us, but everybody, all the engineers around the planet, as we're trying to make ZK proof verification more faster and less resource heavy, or make special hardware to churn out those ZK proofs fast enough. We have to do like trade-offs. Like for example, when you consider the AI pipeline, the parts where we actually employ the ZK proofs are on the input and output of whatever is going into the AI model and whatever is coming out, but the actual computations are happening in trusted execution environments. So if you were to actually do the computation with true blue ZKML, you would not be able to get Imagen to work as fast as what ChatGPT is able to give. And I'm happy to say that ZK Terminal can be just as fast as ChatGPT, and it's also because of these engineering choices that we've made. But I'm sure we will get to a point where we can actually do everything in true blue ZKML style, and run all the computations also with ZKML, like pure ZKML, rather than the ZK verified inferencing that we have to employ for some models. So there's many such privacy enhancing technologies. There's also MCPs. There's also homomorphic encryption. There's also federated learning and training, right? But with each of these technologies, it's just the situation that has to decide what you have to employ.
Absolutely. And that was a little bit of a leading question because, we're devoting a ton of our resources towards ZKML. We have had some significant breakthroughs recently in terms of performance, and we do align with you on that future. We do see a future where we get performance to a point where every inference can come along with a ZK proof, and it doesn't slow. It's not the bottleneck for inference. We still have some work to do, but I think that our research team is working hard on this, and we have some really exciting benchmarks coming out soon. So we'll make sure to get in touch with you when when we're able to potentially make that switch. So let's talk about I guess maybe to give our audience a better understanding of where your technology could be used. You mentioned healthcare. What are some of the use cases that you're seeing interested in utilizing your technology?
So healthcare was a big one, and in fact, healthcare led me to this whole discovery of zero knowledge machine learning. Because before that, I was actually, to be very honest, very unaware. Before 2023 happened, I did not know about zero knowledge machine learning. But then, like, once we got like a lot of incoming demand from a lot of healthcare institutions wanting, like, privacy on data processing and privacy to do analytics, like that's what led us into the ZKML path. Um, I think it's quite interesting to look at even crypto as an industry, and the end goal of crypto is to be completely anonymous and super fast. So I think obviously crypto is a great industry to operate in. Besides this, of course, the cousin industry, fintech, there's always a need to keep financial data private for both enterprises and the average citizen. Um, Pretty much you can, like, privacy and AI, they're both enablers, and if you have like privacy AI, they can be enablers for any industry. It need not just be healthcare or fintech or crypto. But yeah, like right now, these two segments are our main focus. We haven't really looked much outside of this.
Yeah, I think those are two verticals where it makes sense immediately, but I think I agree with you in that, eventually privacy will become the norm, and even for tasks that you previously didn't think you wanted to implement privacy functionality, it will be so cheap and it will have no impact on performance that you might as well enable privacy across the entire stack. And I think a lot of the solutions, there are some other teams trying to kind of tackle this problem, but a lot of the existing solutions out there, I think sacrifice decentralization in order to achieve these goals. And I know that you guys really take pride in the fact that you are implementing this privacy, but also maintaining decentralization. Can you speak a little bit to that kind of design choice and why that's important to you and why that's important to your users?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, we started building the infrastructure also thinking about the community as a core contributor to the network. So, like, the first product we shipped was our cluster. So, like, most of our transformers, they're running on, basically a decentralized cluster of GPUs coming in from community members. Like, they've just been contributing GPUs spread across the planet. And decentralization does not just happen at the community level, it also happens at the enterprise level, right? We don't just rely on one like enterprise to buy all our GPUs, but we use a cocktail of multiple providers to give us like powerful GPUs into the network. So we cluster these GPUs using a framework called Ray, and then basically the workload is being divided between these different nodes, like whether it's on the enterprise side or whether it's on the people side. Uh, so fundamentally, we have been like a decentralized infrastructure, and I think this also brings in a great opportunity to scale because we're not tied to just one server location anymore. Like we can absorb, users and GPUs from any part of the planet, and that helps us scale.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and also probably keeps costs down as well. I'm assuming you're getting relatively good economics on these GPUs as well. For our audience who are building AI solutions and are interested in implementing, this privacy and verifiability via ZkAGI, I know that you have the Synapse API. Can you talk a little bit more about the Synapse API and what sort of functionality that will enable for developers that want to utilize it?
Sure, absolutely. So we have a very wide selection of AI models available through the Synapse API. Whether you're just looking for a text gen model or whether you're looking for image gen or even video gen is something our team has been working on. Maybe we'll release it next week or in 2 weeks, but we've cracked it. We just need to, like host it in its totality. But we've also been giving additional kind of AI models that OpenAI or any of the big tech providers are not giving, because we have the advantage of being able to deploy open source models into our network. So we have like time series transformers, so you can predict the price of instruments like maybe Bitcoin or whatever coin you're trading, and you can build good trading, AI agents. You can build a lot more actually with our technology, and our through our technology offerings. We're also giving TWE based wallet solution. So you can have like autonomous trading agents, and you can custom code strategies. Again, you can derive those strategies from the time series transformer, and then like autonomously trade for you and your users. So what we offer is obviously more in terms of selections. In terms of performance, of course, it's not going to compare to big tech at the same level, but I think we're 80 to 90% there, I think, and hopefully over time we'll be as fast. And every time you interact with the Synapse API, you get a zero knowledge proof that's generated for you to understand that, hey, your data was not tampered, it went through the right AI model that you requested, and uh, information of that sort is encoded into the ZK proof.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you have this level of visibility, but maybe you could share with us one of the coolest projects that you've seen being built with the Synapse API recently.
So I think one of the coolest ones is being built at the moment. So it's a healthcare company, and essentially they are making like a agent that you can interact with, and that's going to guide you for like it's personally going to guide you to achieve your best health, taking into account your gut health, which controls most of your like health. And they already have like a good distribution of users, so they have that intel, and it's actually a doctor building it with us. So he's provided extensive like textbooks and everything. So we've helped him train the agent on like hundreds of textbooks and his own personal experience. And this is something we'll be rolling out. So this is, I think, cool in a way, because health is wealth. So I think people should start thinking about that.
Yeah, of course. And I've heard that as well. You got to keep your gut right to stay healthy. So I'm definitely excited to check it out. And it makes sense that some of the early adopters are going to be these healthcare use cases, and that sounds incredibly interesting. So maybe you can send me an invite code when it's ready.
Another cool one actually that's been built is a fundraising agent that goes on multiple channels and gets funding for entrepreneurs.
Does it work?
Actually,
Any?
it's gotten like 4 responses over the last 2 weeks, which is not bad. But yeah, like so far, like some of the channels have not performed as expected, but I'm helping them kind of debug that.
I was gonna say, are you using it to fundraise?
Yeah, we plan to use it too.
Amazing, amazing. That's great. I love it. Maybe you could talk to us a little bit about where you guys are at now, and where you want to be 2-3 years down the road. What are some of the most pressing technical challenges that you think you'll have to overcome to kind of get to where you see this company going?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the biggest technology problems is not internal, but it's more external. I think we need to educate more people, and that's one of our missions. To drive adoption for these cool technologies, you have to make them extremely usable also, because besides privacy, besides performance, people also, you know, to adopt solutions, they need good usability and education. So I think this is one of the most pressing challenges for us, and maybe a lot of ZK aligned organizations, of course, like Polyhedra as well. So this is something that we wish to undertake with our partners, such as Polyhedra, to educate more people, to get more builders to build more things. Besides that, of course, on the tech side, as I already mentioned, it's the path towards true blue ZKML for even very complex transformers, probably bringing ZK ASICs to the cloud, kind of bringing the developer experience of deploying ZK circuits and ZKML, circuits to like, if we can get it, it would be really nice to have like a no-code ZKML, AI model builder. Uh, but yeah, I mean, but that's like an aspirational goal. I think adoption is what we're trying to focus on in our next chapter, because I think we have made good practical decisions, and we have infrastructure that's working, that's stable, and that's alive most of the time. So now we just need to gain more and more adoption. We need to educate more people.
Absolutely. We talk about those two pillars a ton on the show. One is, excuse me, uh, improving the user experience. Like, users shouldn't have to go through a bunch of clicks, sign a bunch of transactions, switch networks to be able to use an application. And then the other is, educating the market on the importance of privacy, on the importance of verifiability. So with that, I'd love to, we've got about close to 1,000 viewers right now. Can you share with our audience, why should privacy and why should verifiability be something that they care about and that they seek out when they're looking for what types of solutions to use?
Sure. To address your first point, the way most people think about privacy is, if it's your privacy, it's a joke. But if it's my privacy, it's a big deal. But what people have to understand, that everybody's privacy is just as important, because it's a fundamental human right. And you don't ask me why we need free speech on this planet. You just know that it exists, at least in most corners of the planet, right? And the fact of the matter is, privacy like has to exist in a similar vein. So by that logic, privacy has to exist, and especially in a digital context, you have to protect your keys. You have to protect your personally identifiable information, because there are bad players out there, especially in the centralized world, right? They are doing bad things to your data, and that's the reason you're getting spam calls, like scammers. Even I got phished. I'm such a cyberpunk, but even I got phished like just a few weeks back on the ZkAGI X account. Like, though that's more a security breach, but it did compromise my privacy. So, if you want to kind of like have longevity in the digital space as an enterprise, as a human being, you need to have privacy, and systems should be built with the privacy first mindset, so that you don't have situations like these where like a spammer can, or a scammer can even give you a phishing link, right? If they don't even know my email that's associated, like, they would not be able to reach out to me. So think about that, and think about what the goal of hackers is to compromise your privacy and private information, whether it's credentials, your private keys, or access, right? So you have to protect it at all costs.
Amazing. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I get, at least one phishing email every day. So it's a big problem. And one that, if I maybe had taken a little care to protect my privacy in my early years, I wouldn't be dealing with now. But we're building for a better future, and so I think that's a really good point. We talked a little bit about how developers can use the Synapse API if they're building applications. Let's say you're on the other side and you're a model developer, and you want to, make your models available through ZkAGI. What's that process look like?
So we are, in the process of actually enabling that, but at the moment we have only gotten to the point where we're able to host the models ourselves, but we haven't put it in the hands of developers yet. But that is a big goal. We want more, model developers to host their models, monetize them, take the wins. Like we don't want like all their wins, but you should get credit for the models you create and host onto the network. But like we're not like exactly there yet. Yes, there's a way you can do it, but then you'll have to speak to the core team at this point. But yeah, we hope to include that in our documentation fairly soon, maybe a month or 2 months, something like that. And we will be scouting out for more model developers. I think it's getting much easier to build like foundational models itself, and yet at the same time there's very few people actually trying to attack that problem. So the developers we would actually go after are very far and few in between, like people building AI agents or AI apps. That's a bigger segment of developers. So we've just focused at least at this phase on the larger segment, and we will get to the model hosters very soon.
Amazing. Very cool. Well, exciting times ahead for sure. I've got a fun one for you. I noticed before you zoomed in or you were standing up, I could see your shirt. You had the tiger logo on it. And I know the tiger is present, throughout, maybe either official or unofficial mascot of ZkAGI. Why the tiger? Because I am also very into tigers. So this is just a personal question. I'm interested in how you got there.
That's, I think, the best question so far. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Well, you have to look at a tiger's traits, right? First of all, like when we were starting out as a business, right? A good way to kind of embody our spirit was to have this tiger mascot because we were being brave, right? We were competing against so many people, and like when you look at a tiger moving in a jungle, it moves through the grasslands and it's maintaining stealth and precision, right? It's moving slow, until it has to pounce, and you cannot see it in the bushes. Like it's camouflaging very well, which goes with the privacy sentiment. It's strong, it's brave, um, and like tiger cubs are also cute. So the community really likes that angle as well. We have a agent called ZkPaws, and the community feels warm about him. And yeah, those kinds of soft factors also played in. And initially, like while we were building, we did not have much of the product, especially early 2023. Like we didn't have the entire ZkAGI infrastructure. Like the community would cheer on for us with like tiger memes and stuff like that, and that way our community kind of grew. And even now, um, it's kind of symbolic, and we like it as a ritual in most cultures, especially in East Asian cultures and South Asian cultures. Like the tiger is considered a majestic and like royal animal, and somewhat even like godly in some ways. So I like that aspect about tigers too. So yeah, that's why the tiger. Oh, by the way, I'm curious to know why you like tigers yourself.
Well, it's a little bit unfair. A university that I went to, their mascot was the tiger, but I also grew up really enjoying this is this is really out of there. I really enjoyed the Calvin and Hobbes comic books growing up. And so that kind of, I guess, started it at a young age. But I did have I was anticipating maybe that your answer would have to do a little bit with the stealthiness of tiger, and so it makes sense, and I like it. I'll have to get next time I'm out your way. I'll have to get a shirt from you guys.
Sure thing.
So, I know you guys are really kind of gearing up and entering this kind of scale phase, and you've made a lot of progress with the product. How are you hoping to get the community more involved, or how can the community, participate and contribute to furthering the ZkAGI vision?
Yeah, so one way is obviously through collaborations. Like, of course, our collaboration with Polyhedra, it's at least, bringing us awareness. And as we go through the different motions of integrating with Polyhedra, we open up a new kind of ecosystem and user base that we can tap into, and also like similar chains like Polyhedra also get the opportunity to tap into our user base. So it's a nice, like, you rub my back, I rub your back kind of situation. So that's one way. Second thing is, yeah, we've been doing a lot to educate community on the tools that we're launching, and also teaching them how to use these products, improving the user experience further. I know my front end, engineer is quite burdened all the time, because I always come with a list of things that I have to change, that have to be better, that have to be better. But I think it's a process. Like, we need to increase the usability and like the max out the user experience, roll out good campaigns, right? That incentivize users to use our products. And at the same time, we don't want it to become a case of, hey, only airdrop hunters are going to interact because they expect, like, something like quick money. But it should be more about intrinsically motivated users joining our platform and using our products, because end of the day, mercenary capital and mercenary attention will go, but like the people who stick, right, they're the ones who matter. And we're trying to focus on that. So, like, while the numbers may seem like a bit large on the community side that we have, the core of the community is what we're really after. The real people who actually use our products, who support us even on a bad day. Those are the people who matter, not just like large numbers. And they don't really care about you, they don't care about the project, they only care about like making more bucks for themselves, which is not a bad thing. I wouldn't say wanting to make more money is a bad thing, but not understanding what you're interacting with and then just doing things brainlessly, that's a bad thing.
Absolutely. You're trying to solve a pretty audacious goal. And, having a community that's aligned with that is going to help you get there. And, sure, your front end engineer may not like all the feedback maybe that will come in from real users interacting with the product, but it's going to make it better, and it's going to make it sustainable, and it's going to make it something that has a huge long-term impact. With that being said, I know that while we have been talking, the questions have been flying in. So I am going to bring Anthony back on stage and see what we have from the audience.
Hey guys, yeah, thanks for the insights in the chats. I can't tell you how much I appreciated that tiger chat. That was
We gotta have fun
not
on here
super
too.
fun, but man, like strangely insightful though. Like, I love getting behind the veil. Aten, like, man, you are like the we have met a few times, and you're the definition of bootstrap, and such an intelligent person. I also love that you use the term true blue ZKML. As an Australian, I got to tell you that that resonated with me. But one thing that Eric said off the back of that, our research team is working on the full scope of ZKML, and I want to say, if history is an indicator, I think we're absolutely going to get there, likely sooner than the market thinks is possible, because that seems to be the way that things roll out here. A lot of questions on Discord, whole bunch of stuff from our community, and thank you guys for pushing these through. I do just want to touch on one thing that you said, Aten, which was about our ecosystem and tapping in to the ecosystem. For our community and for developers, we do have some really big announcements coming in this space, and from my side, working on this side of the business, we're always looking at ways to empower our ecosystem, whether that's access to APIs or like kind of novel integrations on EXP chain, which I think is going to be a huge piece of the puzzle by the end of the year. So I just wanted to touch on that, and also privacy and verifiability being a human right, I think was a really, really strong point as well. So thanks for outlining that. So guys, we do have a bunch of questions, so let's get into it. I think the first and foremost, I'd love to ask both of you guys, which is one from, I think it was from Faye Mandy, which is, as you see it, what are the biggest risks of centralized, unverified AI? Oh, Aten's just dropped out.
Yeah, well, I mean, until Aten gets back, I can kind of take it. Looks like he's rejoining now. I think
I joined it from my phone because, for privacy reasons, I usually shut the webcam on my laptop. Like cyberpunks do that. So, I do that too. And like somebody called me on my phone and then it got disconnected. I apologize.
Oh, that's all right.
No
Why don't you
You
worries.
don't
repeat
know
the
who's watching. Like, you really don't know sometimes. Like, like, of course, everybody's seen movies, but you never know. Like, you got to keep that webcam under control or use a different device, to do these things
It's
sometimes.
true. It's true, man. It's
Anthony,
true.
do you want to repeat the question?
Yeah. So it was, as you see it, what are the biggest risks of centralized, unverified AI?
One is it's going to go rogue. If you just continue believing that it's not going to go rogue, you're going to be the biggest fool, and it's going to go rogue.
Skynet.
Like bad things, evil things can happen because, if one person is in control or like a few people are in control of like the whole world's data, they can do a lot of bad things. They can manipulate markets. They can make really bad things happen. And guess what? Like, just as I said, like, privacy is a human right. It's also a human trait to like succumb to greed, and especially as like more power you get, like there is the possibility of people or those organizations kind of misusing their power. And that's the biggest part. And like, if it's not verifiable, you cannot see what's happening in the entire pipeline. Like, you don't know what's happening, you don't know what you're interacting with, and you don't know what the intentions of that closed source, like, centralized system is. Like, they might be just taking in all the data and they can do whatever. And what if, okay, what if this operator is fine, like this centralized entity is fine, you trust them, but then the management changes and it's like some evil person comes in or some few evil people come in, so you have these challenges. I mean, best way to think about it is just see what's happened to so many sexes over the last so many years. The same thing is going to happen to AI, right? If you continue only believing in centralized AI, you will understand again and again that, oh shit, I should have believed the decentralized players, the open source and verifiable players in the market instead. And it's going to become more and more common. It's not going to happen one fine day, but we're going to have many instances when people will have to reflect and then think about the systems that they interact with.
Yeah, I mean, I'll use an
Well
example
said.
that is maybe a little bit of a tangent, but maybe people can relate to. You hear a lot of times people complaining like, "Oh, I'm shadow banned on Instagram or I'm shadow banned on Twitter. My account is not, all of a sudden overnight is now getting 10% of the views that it used to get last week." Well, that's the problem with centralized entities, right? They can make changes to the inner workings of their application Maybe they communicate that with you, maybe they don't. But regardless, you have no way of verifying what they're saying is true, what, the actions they've taken. And so this idea of verifiability is like, you have transparency into how systems are working, and you have the ability to verify that a particular application or particular machine model is behaving in the way that you expect it to be. And if there are changes to an application, maybe they do switch models that they use, but in order to do so, they're going to need to, change the basically redeploy with a new zero knowledge proof. They're going to need to communicate that with their users. If it's in a decentralized fashion, like, this will all be probably transparent and visible to everyone. So it's just giving people more control and the ability to have more transparency with the technology that they interact with. And at the same time, it's giving organizations a way to build credibility between themselves and their users. And I think that's really powerful, because a lot of people have lost trust in the government. A lot of people have lost trust in big corporations. And not, maybe you want to interact with a centralized application because it's more efficient or more performant in certain circumstances, but there's still a way to implement this verifiability characteristic so that you're still getting this transparency and trust. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, well said, both of you. I agree 100%. And I think in the broader market, in the context of the broader market, it's, some people may be afraid of AI becoming too powerful, but I think the truth is that, like, the threat isn't, like conscious machines. It's almost, Ayrton's got another call. I think it's
he's a popular guy.
Yeah, he's on the hustle. But I do think it's like unconscious humans, people who aren't aware, maybe. Here he is, Aten. But I think unquestioned convenience, we've lived through it, and that can be a dangerous marker, right? Like, you don't want to be giving away control. And yeah, I think that, AI in and of itself doesn't, like, it's not a threat, right? It's an amplifier. If we build it right, like, if it's verifiable. Outside of that, yeah, you've got the Skynet possibility. And I think it's a difference between, like, automation and maybe like augmentation. Like, automation sure can replace, but augmentation empowers, and the choice is ours. But it depends on that verifiability. So just being conscious, and that it does draw back to what you guys were talking about before, like, those two pillars. Obviously the user experience, very, very vital, and education, which is essentially what we're doing here right now. Having these conversations. So very, very important, and very, very glad to have two minds such as yourselves discussing this. But I digress. Let's move on to the next question. We have a whole bunch here. I know that you guys answered a few of these about exciting use cases. Here's an interesting one. So, as AI automates blockchain or general processes, could we lose human oversight, and would that be dangerous?
Sure. Would you want me to answer this one?
Go for it, man.
So I think in this kind of a scenario, when AI is managing your finances, um, ideally the human should not lose complete oversight, because finally, like, like, the human has to have the private key, like, has to also have a copy of the private key, and should be able to pull out of the automation at any point in time. Things can go bad, and, like, there are multiple, like, attack vectors that are possible on these autonomous trading systems. Of course, you can consider that, for the most part, okay, the private key storage is fine. And maybe the signing operations and everything, they're being done very securely. But then you look at the next like layer, right, which is like the data oracle poisoning happening, right? Whatever data the AI is receiving, what if that's poison for it to make the wrong moves in the market, and it's not actually receiving the right information, and because of that, it's making the wrong moves, right? So there needs to be some sort of like like emergency button, or like condition. For example, that could be like a stop loss, like, hey, as soon as you lose like like even 30% of my portfolio, like that's it, you don't get to trade anymore. And these should be like hard coded into the system, just like the private keys are hard coded into the system, like, hey, you've got to stop when these kinds of conditions happen. And that could probably prevent. So you can do so much to prevent disasters, but at the end of the day, there are still a lot of unforeseen cases. Like, and it's even hard for me to imagine. But this is one that I particularly found interesting. But again, with verification and good encryption, I think you can handle the data oracle problem fairly well. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. Like, I think a lot more things will come up with time. But what do you think, Eric?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I agree with you. I think we're a long way off from getting to a place where I'm, sending my wallet balance to a autonomous agent and just letting them have free reign. I think that there needs to be human oversight. I think in the future, this is something I've thought about, Aitan, and I'm not, an engineer by trade, so I don't know how feasible this is, but I've thought a lot about, when we get to a point where zero knowledge proofs can be generated in real time, can we implement them into these systems in some sort of a feedback mechanism where the proof must be verified before the action is taken? And that way you build in these safety constraints into the proof. And that could kind of prevent some of these issues that you're talking about. Of course, you would have to be the proof generation time would have to be incredibly fast in order to
One
enable this.
thousandth of a second, you're getting a ZK proof. I hope like we get good hardware for this to happen. That would be sick.
Yeah. So
Every
that's
point in human history and the market's history, all embedded with ZK proofs, verified.
it's something to dream about, right?
Yeah, hell yeah, absolutely. Embedded in quantum topology. If we can embed ZK proofs across that kind of topological all of that stuff that's happening, that would be pretty wild. But that's a really, really great point, Eric. And I'm not an engineer by trade either, but I think we're going to get there. I'm an optimist, and I think that that we're going to get there if A10 keeps doing his thing, and our all the brilliant minds and builders out there keep doing their thing. I'm sure we're going to get there. But what you guys were just chatting about does tie into a question from Miles, which is, can we prevent, like, can ZkML be used to prevent AI from being used to perpetuate bias and discrimination?
I think yes, that's a good use case, but I think more than ZKML, it's just the decentralization aspect that's more important for this kind of a thing. If you have like two things, right? Like if you have decentralized hosting of servers and like decentralized management of and governance basically of the protocol, like bias, data bias, and these kinds of things can be better solved. I don't think ZKML per se. ZKML, of course, can play a part at a technology level, but I think there's also like this social level that we need to think about with decentralized governance, decentralized data collection. These things are probably more important in solving, this problem of bias.
Yeah, I think that we've been talking a lot today about the utilization of zero knowledge proofs to provide verifiability on the inference side. There is, a whole nother world where, we're using ZK proofs, and there's teams working on this we're working on this, where you're using ZK proofs to verify the training process as well. And so, not to say that this would be a out of the box solution to solve bias, but it does add transparency and it does add verifiability to the training process, so that then when you are gathering data in this decentralized manner, when you are making sure that you're capturing long tail data that captures the world, a true representation of the world, as opposed to some small subset that may not, that may have inherent bias, you can at least, have some visibility and transparency into that training process to help eliminate the bias.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's many applications, and it's definitely an exciting use case. We've had a lot of questions, and I find this very interesting as well. Around provenance. Obviously, I think I don't know if it's a secret or an open secret, but that like a lot of these models have been trained on the entirety of the internet, which does bring into question, IP and copyrighted data, etc. So I'd love to hear your guys' perspectives on, how ZkML with decentralized data marketplaces, with provenance, with like maybe, this whole world of deep fakes and everything that is coming. I think that ZkML has such a big role to play there. And yeah, I guess we've had a lot of questions in that vein. So could you guys speak a little bit to that?
Aitan, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure thing. So I think definitely like there's a way to do like privacy training. Like there's a way to train the AI without compromising the privacy of the data set. And this can, like, because it's such a cryptographic function, right? You can like not, I wouldn't say bypass, but pretty much like these rules, like copyrighted data or even somebody's sensitive data being used to train the AI would not be significant because cryptographically it's actually like processing the training data, but the sensitive parts are like the actual data is not being exposed. So I think this might be an interesting way to build the next or the future of AI models, where you do like the techniques you could employ could be like edge training, like federated learning, or maybe even mixed homomorphic encryption, things like this, which we've actually tried, um, or probably even, of course, ZkML. But yeah, I think this is like a great way to solve like this particular problem of like stealing people's data. And like this is happening, like most of these AI models are, as you said, like they're using information from the internet. So I think it could be quite helpful. And obviously like verifying things, that also makes the entire process like more trustworthy, right? That hey, it's actually being done this way. Like you get the guarantee that the claim is true.
Yeah, I'll use an analogy here, right? Like when you go to the grocery store and you have the option of, do I want to just buy the cheap eggs? Do I want to buy the organic eggs? Do I want to buy the pasture raised eggs? And unfortunately, in this situation, there's still some centralized organization that's responsible for designating this. But if this is important to people, if people do feel strongly that the models that they're interacting with should be generated using opt-in data, there will become, in the free market, there will become, a subset of AI models and of AI applications that are quote unquote, I'm making this up, ethically sourced or trained on ethically sourced data. And that ethically sourced data will have a zero knowledge proof of the provenance of that data and the opt-in of those users that gave that data. But again, it comes back to Aiton's point, like, this is only going to come to fruition if this is what is demanded, right? It's a free market. And so, you know, as much as there's a vocal minority that's complaining about copyright infringement and misappropriation, lack of attribution by these larger AI companies like OpenAI, there are, for every one person that's speaking up against this, there are millions of people that are typing in the Ghibli filter and turning their photos into that and posting it on Twitter. So, you know, it is a problem, but it's only going to be solved if it's something that is, you know, there's enough demand for. And so that's why it's important for the community to speak up and to let their preferences be known.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, yeah, at the end of it, you know, big picture, it comes down to provenance as well, and just proper attribution. I think a lot of people, there's that vocal minority, but a lot of people would like actually be maybe okay with, you know, because it does push the industry forward, and it's going to like come like sum total come to hugely beneficial outcomes, right? So, you know, I guess it's just where we are at this point in history, but it's a very exciting time. Gentlemen, we have come up on 1 hour. We've just hit 1 hour. I know you both got big days and busy schedules, so I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much to the community for all the questions. I can still see that they're rolling in. I hope we got to get to as many as possible. And again, just appreciate the community for how much you guys get involved with these shows. And thank you, Eric. Thank you, Aten. That was a great show. Really appreciate it, guys. Thanks for the insights. Love to learn a bit about tigers, and we'll definitely, Eric, I'll be seeing you soon in China, actually.
Yeah, see you out there. Excited for the trip.
We'll be doing some shows out there. And Aten, I run into you in every corner of the world, so I'm sure I'll be seeing you again soon, man.
Thank you so much, Polyhedra, and the entire community for having me. And we're super excited for everything Polyhedra is doing. I just wanted to share one thing because I didn't mention it at any point. Is I've actually known Polyhedra for a very long time, even before we started speaking. I used to read the documentations pretty often. So I've seen the evolution of Polyhedra, and I've seen the focus Polyhedra has on the tech. I'm super excited to be building on Polyhedra, and I want every builder out there to also consider, you know, Polyhedra as a good chain of choice, or one amongst many chains that you use, because it can provide a lot of exceptional facilities to you as a builder. And also, besides obviously the tech facilities, you see how awesome the Polyhedra team is. They had me over for a nice stream, and the questions were just brilliant, both from the community and you guys. Thank you so much for having me, gentlemen.
Thank you very much for joining us. This was great. And we'll have you back again, you know, in a few months so that you can give us an update on how things are going. Love it.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys. Thank you, community. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.